There's a fundamental truth that's really at the heart of presence-driven leadership. Every one of us is profoundly shaped by stories. Today, we're going to walk through a framework for understanding those stories, not just to look at the past, but to start consciously creating our future. Let's explore this together.
I want to start with a question for you to just hold in the back of your mind as we go. Are you consciously living a story, or is an unconscious story living you? Honestly, the difference between those two is everything. It's the difference between living in alignment and just living on autopilot.
So, that unconscious narrative, we call it the old story. Think of it like a program running in the background of your mind. It's this collection of experiences and beliefs, mostly from the past, and it's what drives so many of our automatic reactions. The goal here isn't to delete the program, but to bring it out into the open so we can see it. So, that brings us to our first section. We're going to focus on exactly that, a clear process for uncovering your old story and making what was unconscious conscious. I want you to imagine your life up to this very moment as a movie. The first step is to simply see that movie, to write down the story, the plot, the characters, the big turning points. And this is really important. This isn't about judging the movie. It's just about seeing it with clarity. The process itself is pretty straightforward, and it happens in two parts. First, the self-reflection. This is something you do on your own. It's a private exercise just to get that story out of your head and onto the page where you can actually look at it. And only then, once the story's laid out, can you move to step 2, which is this gentle inquiry, asking questions to clarify what you found.
Okay, so once the story is visible, we can go deeper. Because the events themselves, that's just the surface level. This next section is all about exploring the beliefs and the sense of identity that are lying just underneath.
And this visual just says it all, doesn't it? The story, the sequence of what happened, is what we can see above ground. But the real power of that story, what anchors it in place, comes from the roots that are deep beneath the surface. Those roots are our beliefs and our identity that grew in response to everything that happened. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The story answers the question, what happened? But the beliefs and identity, well, they answer a much more powerful question. What did it mean about me? The story is just the events. The identity is the set of rules we wrote for ourselves and for the world because of those events. That's the foundation we're trying to understand. And let's be honest, this is not easy work. It's not something most of us are taught to do. As the source material points out, most people just haven't spent much time really looking at these deeper systems. So if this feels new or maybe a little challenging, that's okay. It's actually a sign that you're getting to the heart of things. Now, to do this kind of deep work safely and effectively, it really helps to have a specific mindset. So this section covers 3 core principles for holding space, whether you're doing this work for yourself or maybe supporting someone else through it. And here is the most crucial shift in perspective we can make. We are not trying to fix the story. We're not trying to label it as good or bad. The entire goal, the only goal, is to see it with as much clarity as possible. When you shift your intention from fixing to just seeing, it changes everything. Our first principle is about honoring human dignity. This is really about how we approach the story in the first place. It asks us to just suspend our judgment. Because think about it, how can you really fully judge an experience that you have lived from the inside? You can't. So this practice allows us to see the story with respect and with honor, instead of with criticism. The second principle is choosing responsibility over reactivity. The practice here is simple but not always easy. It's to listen with the single goal of understanding. When we hear our own story or someone else's, that impulse to react is so strong, to praise, to feel sorry for it, to give advice. But any reaction, even a positive one, automatically assigns a judgment. Our responsibility is just to witness what is there. And third, we practice discernment. This is all about using gentle follow-up questions to get clearer on what we're seeing. This isn't an interrogation. We're not trying to lead ourselves or anyone else to a certain answer. The goal is simply to uncover the truth of what's already there, not to give advice or try to force a solution. Okay, so once we have that clarity on the old story, and we have these principles to guide us, then we can finally turn our attention from the past to the future. And this is where the work becomes really, really powerful. This quote just nails the essence of a presence-driven approach. We have to acknowledge the past, fully, but we don't have to get stuck there. The focus then gracefully shifts to, okay, what is true right now, and where do we choose to go from here?
all about that forward momentum. So how do we actually build that momentum? Well, we can start by asking ourselves a different kind of question, empowering questions, like these. Notice how each one takes the old story and reframes it. It turns it into a source of strength, of learning, of purpose. This is how we begin to cultivate our own internal authority.
And really, this is the ultimate takeaway. The past does not have to determine the future. Gaining this deep clarity on the old story isn't about being trapped by it. In fact, it's the absolute first step you have to take toward real freedom. The freedom to consciously create a new story, one that is in full alignment with who you are right now. So I'll leave you with this. After looking back with clarity and with dignity, after understanding the beliefs that were forged along the way, the one question that opens up the future is this: what new story are you now ready to live into?